Hey, it's Doug Cunnington here. Welcome. This is the webinar, the free training on internal links for niche sites and authority sites. And well, internal linking works for any site. So it really applies to any site that you may have. I think with any luck, people could hear me. I do see we have a few people on, which is awesome. So we have Lisa, Pumped, Ken, Jazz, Kevin, and Hung. So welcome. And if you can do me a huge favor, let me know in the chat if you can hear me. And I expect that you'd probably say like, hey, Doug, we see your mouth moving, but we can't hear you. So in a second, probably I'll see a bunch of yeses. Pumped. Yeah, awesome. Lisa, thank you. So while we're just waiting for people to join, I'm going to do a couple things. One, thank you for joining. And two, let me know where you're from and that sort of thing. So I think it's always cool to see where people are joining up from. And hopefully we'll have a small crowd today. That way I can finish up without too many questions. Occasionally these go for like 2 hours. So I just want to make sure that I can enjoy the rest of my beer. So I think I wrote in the email that I was probably going to have a beer because it's the evening. And here it is. I even have a backup right here. So, it's being a special day, Thursday and all, going to have a second beer. So Lisa's from Australia. Cool. What time is it there? And it's like winter time there, huh? That's crazy. And then Pumped in Alberta, summertime, got the long days going on. And then Leo from Arizona. Thanks for joining, Leo. I busted out my better mic, so if anyone was around earlier this morning for the live stream, I did use the better mic, and everyone seemed to say, hey, it's really much, much better. So I guess it's good that I actually got it out. It takes up a little real estate on the desk, but I can swivel it up so it kind of stays out of the way. James from Asheville, awesome town in Asheville. I spent some time there. Obviously, a lot of good breweries, and they opened up a couple like awesome ones in the area too. So there's like the Oscar Blues opened one up. You got the Sierra Nevada opened up a brewery there, and I think did Left Hand or one of those other ones, maybe New Belgium, opened up a brewery in that area. James, I don't know if you're a beer drinker, but I am. So I'll mention that. And let's see, we got Jazz on also. So I'll just keep burning a little bit of time just to make sure we allow everyone to join up. Again, this is the webinar on internal links for niche sites. And you can use it for authority sites. And some people call it like interlinking, or internal links is really, what you might hear them just in a more general sense, but it means the same thing. And James, you said all of those. Yeah, I moved from that area, like I was in the Atlanta area, and it was only 2 or 3 hours. Really got spoiled being able to go to Asheville so quickly, and then having the distribution down in Atlanta. In Montana, the population is small, right? It's only like 1 million people in the whole state, the 4th largest state, and there's only 1 million people. And then we're kind of at the end of the supply chain, and breweries don't really distribute here because there's not many people. So, and James mentions that the Sierra Nevada location in North Carolina looks like Disneyland. I've seen pictures. They were just finishing it up like as I was leaving the region. So, yeah, it looks pretty nice. Looks pretty nice from what I've seen. Okay, this is the internal linking webinar. And while we're just hanging out, there will be a replay. So if you got to go or something like that, there's a replay, and you'll be able to watch this on YouTube also. So I basically publish most of these on YouTube afterwards, but it's awesome for you to be on here. By the way, if you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, check it out. There's a bunch of other live trainings like this one. So you can take advantage of that. All right, I think we can get rolling here. We waited 5 minutes, and it looks like that's what we got. And we see Vincat's on also. Thank you, and Dami. Cool. So what I'll do is start sharing my screen here. And looks like that's working. And if you do have a question, Pumped has a question there. If you do have a question, you can type it in. It's super helpful to like mark it as a question. That's the thing I'm trying to say. To mark it as a question, just like Pumped did there, which is great. Then it'll be easy for me to see later. And yes, you could ask general questions at the end. So I'll hold that till the end and we'll go from there. Okay, so I've confirmed that everyone can hear me. So that's really good. And just a question, I know a few people on the call already do have sites, but I am wondering how many people like already have a niche or authority site right now. I put both of those terms in just because, you know, in case people are very particular about the semantics. I'm not. I mean, they're kind of the same thing most of the time. It's pretty rare that, you know, a niche site is going to be super small, and that's kind of like the definition that a lot of people use. So do you have a site right now? Just let me know in the chat, and I'll come back to that in a minute. Probably a few people have seen me share this quote before, but the most ineffective workers are systematically moved to the place where they can do the least damage, which is management. That's probably how I ended up in management as well. That's in the Dilbert Principle by Scott Adams. And looks like a lot of people do have sites, which makes sense given the topic. So Ken does, Dami, Pumped, Vincat. I know, you know, probably a couple other people do too. I'm Doug Cunnington, founder of Niche Site Project. And you can check out my blog if you haven't before. There's a lot of resources on just niche sites in general. You can get keywords. I think I have like a list of 15,000, and they're free. All you have to do is sign up for the email list. And the other interesting thing is I'm putting a lot more stuff on YouTube right now, as I've already plugged that once, but I have at least 14 videos where I tear down different sites. They're usually like 15 to 40 or 45 minutes long, depending on how talkative I was that day. And a lot of value in those. I think those are some of the most popular videos that I have. There's a playlist, so check it out if you haven't. And you can watch it at 2x speed. So it's just a little faster. I actually do that myself whenever I have the opportunity. Not my own videos, but other people's. Okay, so I've been featured and quoted on different places online, including Social Triggers by Derek Halpern, which is kind of like that's one of the sites that I really liked when I first got started. Well, I still like it now, but it really was a site that I thought was cool. I actually used that same theme that Derek had because it was a thesis theme. So it was really cool to be featured there. And the question is, do you know how to add internal links? So I bet a lot of people that are here already have like a decent idea, but I suppose you're here because you want to learn more. And Ken mentions the Peter Principle. Yeah, same thing. And then Bobby has a site as well. Okay, I always put this timeline in kind of as a reminder to myself, but also just to let everyone know everything takes time. There's some ups and downs. You can clearly see the ups and downs here. Fun thing, I haven't updated this roller coaster yet, but there's going to be a point like somewhere up here or even off of the screen where you can't see it. I just got confirmation today for the people that know what I'm talking about. The Project Go White Hat site, not only was it sold, the money in the escrow was released today. So it's like everything's good to go and it's finalized, which is super cool. So I'm going to be publishing a few articles on that in the next 3 weeks. Again, Q&A is at the end. Feel free to ask throughout. I'm going to try not to watch the chat too much so I don't lose my train of thought. I actually have a hard time doing that anyway. And I keep looking at the chat over there. It's so addicting. So you can hold your questions, or if you think of them, you can type them out, but I probably won't get to them until the end. So let's get into it. So basically here we got niche sites, and I would go into why niche sites, but since most people here already have one, I'm not going to belabor it. If you're watching the replay later and you're not 100% sure why we'd be into niche sites or authority sites, whatever you call them, they're awesome. And basically it's the cheapest way to get started online, I think. You learn the ropes of SEO, WordPress, content management. You could learn about, link building, outreach, copywriting, a number of skills that are transferable. A lot of times people will learn a certain aspect like SEO, for example, maybe white hat SEO. They really like that portion of the niche site process. Then they go deep on that. They can create services, an agency, whatever, and just go really deep on it. So some people end up liking the digital marketing aspect and maybe email marketing, and then they'll go deep on that. But niche sites are really a nice gateway in. And if you look at very large, prominent figures out there, a lot of them did start in niche sites in some form or another and then branch out from there. So it's a great place to start if you're just looking to get into online stuff. And then other people stick with the niche sites. There's a lot of success stories on my site, so I won't go into a bunch of name dropping, but some people stick into niche sites. They don't have an internet marketing blog. They stay off the radar, and then they're happy with, a small team or just themselves, and they're making way more money than they could working for a company. So this webinar is all about internal links for websites in general, niche sites, authority sites, Amazon affiliate sites, whatever you want to call them. And this is the method that I use. And I kind of, want to point out it works for any site, right? If you have an e-commerce site with content, you could use the same ideas. Generally, this is going to be most applicable to sites that are already existing. However, if you're adding content, you probably should implement this and use it as you're growing. So for example, I'm adding a whole lot of content to a few sites right now, and part of the editing and content management process will actually be to add links and follow this method as content's being added. So if you are growing a new site, you can still use these ideas. So it applies for everything. So as to methods, there may be a million and then some, but principles are few. The man or woman who grasps principles can successfully select his or her own methods. The man who tries methods ignoring the principles is sure to have trouble. And I think that's really key when you're looking at niche site and authority site ideas, because if people just look at stuff that Neil Patel, Brian Dean, and Spencer Hawes put out, and they just copy it, everyone's just copying it, and there's really not much value in that if it's commoditized. So if you really understand the principles, you could take it a little further. And actually, if we have time at the end, I'll digress into a little project that I'm kind of working on, something a little bit new, but I'm taking principles, not methods. So I'll come back to that. It sounds mysterious, but it'll make sense. Okay. This presentation is divided into 3 main parts. So number 1, the results, which should hopefully give me a little bit more credibility on why you should listen to what I'm saying here. Then I will actually talk about why we want to do this, what value does it actually bring. A lot of it is sort of circumstantial evidence that I've seen, but at the very least, there's no harm in doing this kind of thing. And then the third part, the most important part, is the plan, how to actually interlink your site in a smart, efficient way. And there's two parts to that. So we'll get into it and the results. Okay. So I hope this is large enough to view. I'm sure some people are viewing on different resolutions, and it may not matter how much I stretch this thing. But okay, here's a graph, and it's just showing like, you know, a subset. It's January 2017 to February, and it's on average about, you know, 1,500 visitors per day. And the spikes are the weekends normally. And actually, it's interesting, the wave or the wave shape here. It looks like Wednesdays may be kind of popular too. I'm not 100% sure, but the point is there's traffic on this site, right? Well, that's great and all, but that was like January and February. So I thought, hey, why don't I go back and we look at October 1st to June 14th, right? So that's a big stretch of time. And basically I added a whole lot of content, KGR content, keyword golden ratio, if you're not familiar with the term. And basically a whole lot of people went to the site over this period, like 325,000, which is like a staggering amount. You can see the average session duration on the entire site is like less than a minute, so it's not super. The bounce rate, kind of high, right? But that's a lot of people visiting the site, and it's kind of a profitable site. So I'm like pretty comfortable with the amount of revenue per visitor, and it's generally trending up. The cool thing is I actually stopped adding content like at the beginning, like at the end of September here. So like I haven't done anything since like this part right here, and it's continuing to grow. If I were to, I didn't show the week or the month, but it's still trending up. And I'm about to add like as much or more content than I did last year. So I'm excited to see, you know, how that's going to change things. I think I may have to upgrade my hosting plan or add some more processor cores just to make sure it, you know, stays efficient and operates well. So anyway, here's some results, right? There's a lot of people going to the website, and I think it's a good thing to interlink your site. Why? Good question. So I need to answer the question here now, and I guess I didn't create any more slides on that, so I'm gonna. So why would you interlink your site? There's a few reasons why. One, right, you're going to be able to encourage visitors to your site to visit other pages on your site. So even though I didn't necessarily illustrate that with the graph that I just showed you, since visitors, it looked like they were only visiting like 1.26, I think it said 1.26 pages per visitor, which is not great. It'd be better if it was 2 or more than 2. But at the very least, if they're only on average spending less than a minute there, at least, you know, most of the time they're, not most of the time, but part of the time they're clicking to another page on the site. And, you know, the thing that you want to do is to link to more relevant content. So I keep going to examples on my desk, and I only have Post-it notes apparently. So Post-it notes and pens, but if you are talking about, you know, a certain kind of Post-it note, like these are orange, although it's kind of bright in here, so it's hard to tell. So orange Post-it notes, you know, there's a whole review on orange Post-it notes. Well, maybe I link in that orange Post-it note article to pink Post-it notes, because someone who likes orange Post-it notes and that are bright, they may also like pink ones too. So that's, you know, part of it. It encourages people to spend more time on your site and gets them to other relevant content. So my examples are silly, of course, because I'm trying not to out anyone's niche or, you know, mention my own or anything like that by accident. But essentially, you're able to get people to other stuff that they're interested in. So you're thinking of the user and you're helping them out. The second reason is it helps pass link juice throughout your site. So if you're not familiar with the concept, there's this idea of, having a page on your site that receives like links, right? It receives link juice and some authority. And when that happens, that page is sort of charged up with this link juice, and then the link juice can be passed to other pages on your site. All you have to do is put a link on that page that has the link juice to another page that you want to pass the link juice to. So it's kind of a funny analogy, but I guess it's stuck from back in the day. So link juice is a term that people use. And I'm going to have a sip here. So basically, you're able to pass authority from some page on your site that has some to some page that doesn't have as much. And you can go both ways, right? So it doesn't necessarily have to be like the page that has some to the page that doesn't have enough. So, and the other thing is, I don't necessarily put a whole lot of weight in the, full analogy. When I first got started online, I think I watched a video by Pat Flynn, and he, made the analogy of like a juice box and passing like actual juice to other parts of the site. And, that sort of implies there's a limited amount of juice in that box that can be passed around. And then once it's done, it's all gone. You can't pass it around anymore. And I don't necessarily like buy in all the way to that analogy. Of course, that Pat Flynn video was like from 5 or 6 years ago, so I'm not holding him to it or anything, but that's how it was explained to me the first time. It made sense as far as like a visual representation, but I don't think it's really like that. The point is, and the reason why I'm kind of going deep on that part of it is, I think it's totally fine to link out to several different, pages on your site, internal links, and to even put links to other sites. I mean, you don't really want to put links to like your competitor sites, but outbound links to authority sites is a good thing. And, if you put a couple links to sites that are kind of competitors, it's probably not going to be a terrible thing, right? I mean, if you have content on your site, it's probably not going to be a huge deal if every now and then, one person clicks over to your competitor site. So I don't highly encourage it, but I have links out to a couple competitor sites here and there. It's not the worst thing in the world. So I'm digressing. Let's get back to interlinking. So the third reason, which is kind of related to the link juice theory, is for my particular sites, right? The two graphs that I showed you, they were from like one particular site. And on that site, I published a whole lot of keyword golden ratio content. So that content, basically, it is long, like ultra long tail terms, very low competition. They tend to rank very quickly, and they get traffic because they rank number one for a very specific term, like the best post-it notes for organizing your tasks, right? So pretty long phrase, very specific. And if someone Googles that and you actually are targeting that specific thing, then you're probably going to rank number one and you're probably going to get traffic. Now, the interesting thing, I haven't done a study on this. No one else is talking about it. But my theory is if you have pages that rank and get traffic, and then you have links from those pages to other pages on your site, that's a very good thing. So imagine if you got a link from some external website that ranked number one for a term. Wow, that would be super awesome. Well, what if that page was on your site and you ranked number one for this term that's actually like pretty easy to rank for, and you get, maybe a couple visitors per day that visit that page? Well, that's a really good thing. So my theory is if you can get links from pages that are ranked, even if they're on your own site, that's a super good thing to do. So that's probably the number one thing that I think you get out of interlinking your site that no one else is talking about, to my knowledge. Maybe someone else is, but to my knowledge, no one else is doing it. And so when you couple this interlinking idea with the with the keyword golden ratio, like the impact is huge and it's not super fast, right? Remember my graph? I'll go show the graph. I think we're ready to head back over there, but way back in September, but the growth continued. The growth is still happening right now, and it's just like propagating through my site and growing. I hope the trend continues, because if you stretch that out, you know, another 6 months or another year, like that's a lot of traffic. That's kind of crazy. So, okay, here's the plan. It's very simple. It's kind of, it's dangerously simple. Don't make it complicated. Okay. You create a spreadsheet with all of your URLs, and I'll show you how to do, you know, these portions here. And I think people will have questions, and I'm happy to answer them. So number one, create a spreadsheet with all of your URLs. You go through each one of those URLs, each post, and you add links to other posts. You log everything. Then when you publish a new post, you add them to the mix. So that means you add them to your spreadsheet. You go back to old articles. You link to your new ones, and then you link to old articles from that new one that you just published. So like I mentioned before, I'm adding a whole lot of content to my sites, and this happens, right? Something new is published, it gets linked, sorry, it gets logged, it gets links, and links are added to other posts. So it is receiving some too. So every single post has 2 to 5 outbound, so not outbound, but internal links, and vice versa. So it's a web. It's just a web. And you know, when you think about a site like Wikipedia, I mean, it is interlinked in a way that is, well, I mean, it totally makes sense though, right? So if you go look something up on Wikipedia, there's a lot of stuff you're not going to know on a particular entry, and then you'll have the opportunity to learn about it by clicking around. I know for me, if I start researching something on Wikipedia, next thing I know, I'm looking at something totally unrelated and, you know, hopefully learning something that's accurate. You know, you never know with Wikipedia. Every now and then someone gets in there and adds some stuff. But so this is the process, right? Super simple. And we'll kind of go through a couple of the things, because to find all the URLs on your site, not everyone knows how to do that right off the bat. So especially if your site's kind of big, or if you just didn't keep track, I'll show you a couple fast ways to do it. Okay, so you do have options to find all of your URLs. If your site's small, it may not be too hard to go through and find them, but even if you have, more than 10 posts, these methods are probably going to be helpful for you. So number one, I think this may be the best way to do it. Use your sitemap, right? So most themes, or if you have an SEO plugin like Yoast or All-in-One or fill in the blank SEO plugin, you're going to have a sitemap generated for Webmaster Tools or the Search Console or whatever. Bing, people use Bing also. So basically, I think mine, so this one, I use Jetpack on my site, which is a plugin that's created by Automatic, which is the parent company of WordPress. So they kind of do like a really good job with Jetpack, and Jetpack is sort of like a suite of plugins. So I use maybe 4 or 5 of the free extensions of Jetpack, and it works really well. So this sitemap basically has all the URLs for my site. A lot of them are nonsense, and I don't need to have them indexed, so I should probably get on top of that. There's no reason for me to have these URLs indexed out there, but they are. I'm sloppy in that way. But anyway, this is probably the best way. All you would have to do is select this table and then paste it into your your spreadsheet app of choice. I use Google Sheets just because it's easy to use and you can get to it everywhere. So this is like, go to your XML sitemap. That's probably the best way to do this. Another way is you could go to the Google Search Console. You could head over to the search traffic section, and then you can click on internal links. And from there, and you know what, I actually thought it was going to give you a little bit more information here, but essentially you could download the table and that tells you all the pages that do have internal links. And to be fair, or not necessarily fair, full disclosure, I'm not 100% sure if it gives you the URLs that do not have links. So this may not be the very best way. And I actually ran out of time as this presentation was starting up. So there may be a way to snag like the sitemap from like the Search Console, or if you go to the Google Index and see all your index pages, that could be a way too. Nevertheless, I think go to your sitemap. That's the best way to get the list. The Search Console probably has something good, and my apologies that I didn't actually follow through to confirm it. And then Bobby asked, analytics will give you URLs. You know what? I think so, but I'm afraid it may only give the URLs for pages or URLs that get visits. I don't think it gives you 0 visits. And then the other way, this one isn't as good. This is kind of a brute force, kind of a sloppy way, but it would actually work just fine. I've done this before. Go to Google, type in site, and then whatever your domain is. You'll get all the indexed pages, and then you can use, there's a bookmarklet that I recommend out there. If you don't have it or you're interested in getting it, basically it's in my blog commenting video. So if you go to YouTube, you can see the blog commenting video that I have. And it translates all of these links here into a spreadsheet. So it gives you exactly what you're looking for. And I see, funny thing, I didn't realize it. So I have 622 results. I don't have that many posts on Niche Project, so I think a lot of my, a lot of the indexed material, they are actually images. So, you know, I didn't realize that when I was setting up my site back in the day. And there's a lot of stuff that I do a bad job at. That's one of them. So we'll move on to the sheet. So a lot of people do want the template, and I put simplicity in there because like it's usually much better just to do the simplest thing that you possibly can, and that's exactly what I've done. So this is the sheet that one would use to take care of it. If you want, you can add one more column over here with a number and then just number the URLs if you're curious on how many you're doing in a day. But more or less, you snag your sitemap. You have all the URLs listed. That would be, of course, this column. And then, unfortunately, there's no shortcut to do this, right? There may be like little methods or tricks to try and add, various URLs, but I don't do that. It's just a process to go through and add links. So as a frame of reference, I had my, I guess it was a content manager / editor. She'd been working with me for a little while. She had access to, an editor access to my WordPress dashboard. And I let her know what this tab was. In fact, I I just said, hey, can you create a spreadsheet to track it? Also, here's the list of URLs. Just link to other posts 2 to 5 times and make sure, everything gets a link, and make sure everything gets, links to it. So it took her less than a week to go through every single one of my URLs and take care of this. And I paid her, I think at the time it was $9 an hour. So for $9 an hour, she finished it in, I think, about 15 hours or so for hundreds of posts. So while it takes some time and it's not the most fun work, it is very simple to do. So all you have to do is just log it, and as you go, you'll slowly make progress. And it, really, the links were very simple to add. Hey, if you're interested in pink Post-it notes, also check out this review. So that's really all there is to it. As I mentioned, add 2 to 5 links to other URLs on your site. 2 to 5 is my own proprietary formula. I vary it, it's natural to have varying number of links. Sometimes it makes sense, sometimes it doesn't. So 2 to 5 allows for some variation, and, I didn't give her any special, formula to follow. 2 to 5, you could do 1 to 8. I'm sure it would be fine. And like I said, simplicity. So and if you have other questions about the specifics of what I described, or, maybe I left some stuff out, this is actually the first time I've done this presentation or presented this material. So I only thought through the portions that I know. And, really what happens is, you do something for a long time, you internalize it. So I'm probably missing a lot. So I'm really happy to, field any questions you may have. So I'm going to go back through. I saw a couple came through. And first off, I will go back to Pump's question. It's about 404 errors. Oh, and the question that you asked before was if you could ask a question about it. So the answer to that is yes. So feel free to shoot it over whenever you're ready. And then Leo mentioned, congratulations, you're happy for me and the partner. And I didn't mention it here, but I don't know why. His name's Rob. He's like all over the site. I revealed him before. So if you go to Niche Site Project, there's 8 parts in the series right now. So you could like go back to the beginning, read all about it, and go from there. I'm writing part 9 right now. It's sort of drafted. And then I have, I think I have like 3 more parts to go, right? So there's a lot of stuff involved, but, we had to list the site. We had to agree on like the listing price. We had to look at the, I guess the offers that came in, do the negotiation, deal with like, just waiting through the escrow. So thank you though, Leah, really appreciate it. It's nice to have a project completed. Sometimes they just keep going on forever. So Ken asked this question, do follow or no follow? Basically, do follow. Like anything that I talked about on this or within this webinar today was all do follow links. Then, does it vary per authority of the site you're linking to, less or more authority? No. Basically, I'm trying to do the right thing, right? I'm trying to run a white hat site. So if I add a link to another site, and I'm giving them credit for like information or whatever, then it'll be a do follow link. The only time I would have a no follow link is if it, for some reason in the Google Webmaster terms of service, and I guess like their operating suggestions, like affiliate links, for example, I may no follow an affiliate link. But a quick addition. I have read, I can't remember. I think it was on this like Search Console help support information for webmasters. Google's smart enough to understand what an affiliate link is. So you don't necessarily have to put a no follow on the affiliate link. People correct me if you disagree, but I'm pretty sure like Google's smart enough to understand what an affiliate link is, and they don't necessarily pass link juice on an affiliate link because they can tell that it's an affiliate link. Pretty sure I read that somewhere. Best practice, right, is to no follow all of your affiliate links. But if you don't, I don't think it's the end of the world. My sites would probably explode if it was. So, but to answer your question, Ken, these are do follow links. It's super important. I mean, if you're trying to pass link juice, it needs to be do follow. Like that's the situation. And then Huge asks, yeah, there's a replay. There is a replay. You should get a email in a few hours with the link. Additionally, it should be on YouTube within a couple of days. I think I may have it where it won't share right immediately, but I'll come back in a day or two and make it public. There's a bunch of other training there, Huge, so definitely check it out. Okay, so Pumped asks a question that I am not sure I'll be able to answer. So where do I 301 redirect the following 404 errors? Installer-log.text, some other longer thing, and then widget resolve something. Okay, so you want to 301 redirect something. We may need to take it offline since it's kind of a specific thing. Feel free to send me an email, Pumped. Pumped is a member of 5-Figure Niche Site, so she has priority access. Send me an email. That sounds super specific. My thought, though, is you may want to do the 301 redirect in your SEO tool, or if your theme can handle it, to put it in there. As far as doing 301 redirects on a file, like a configuration file, I've only done it in the htaccess file. And yeah, that's all I know about that. I tend to just handle it in the SEO tool, or my theme actually handles it, so I usually do that. So Pump says you have Yoast Premium. So I think there's a way to manage your 301 redirects in the Yoast tool. I don't have Yoast Premium, but I think that is a thing. So shoot me an email, we'll figure it out. And I'm not sure if we have a meeting set up coming up soon, but we could do that. Dami asks, what do I think of siloing? I think if you just do what we talked about in this webinar, then you don't have to worry about siloing. So I think it's fine, but I think it's hard to architect a site in a way that's really flexible so that you'll be able to grow without having to redo things, which is not what we want to do. Actually, that's how my site is, right? So I started it with silos a few years ago. And it was a time when I was learning about silos, and it was a pretty interesting concept. I thought, hey, it's a smart way to pass link juice around. But the problem is, if you don't know how your site's going to grow, then it can be hard to set up the silos the right way. Now, if you're, if you're a big company and you know, like sort of the departments and buckets that things are going to fit in, then you can do the silo and have some confidence about like how your site's going to grow. But most niche site owners are not able to do that. So I built the site with some silos initially, but then after that, I just said, hey, I'm going to make everything a post, and I'm just going to interlink the hell out of it. And, add internal links, make sure there are, just links going everywhere. which if you go to my post on WordPress siloing, if you look at the diagrams, really all that's happening is there's a shitload of links going back and forth. That's what we're doing with interlinking. So I don't think siloing is necessary, period. I don't think it's necessary. It's a nice way to organize your site if you have the ability to like architect the whole thing. And if you have the, basically if you can architect it in the beginning, siloing is cool, but most people don't want to do that. So I wouldn't worry about it. In fact, someone emailed me the other day. They said, hey, read your post on siloing. I think I'm going to do it. I'm afraid I'm going to have to like redo a lot of my site. And I told them, no, don't do it. Just do a lot of interlinking and you should get generally the same benefits. If you change everything around, it's going to be like a huge hassle, and you may get a little bit of a nicer URL structure, but you're not going to get any like real ROI on it. It'll just look slightly nicer on the URL. But I mean, it's pretty cool to have domainname.com/keyword rich URL slug. So, okay, good question, Dami. I should have actually addressed that. So the next time that I present this thing, I will talk about siloing. So those go hand in hand. And says, yeah, I agree. It's tough to plan out, especially when you're building the site. Yeah, totally. I mean, thing is, there's so much stuff to worry about, you know. You got the keywords, worrying about, you know, creating social profiles and like getting links and like adding content, hiring writers. And then, you know, like, how are you supposed to plan what the site architecture is? So pretty tough. You don't have to worry about it really. Okay, so Yuge has a interesting question here. So let me read this. I'll try not to gulp into the microphone. This thing picks everything up, you know. One of my pages is ranking for six variations of one supporting keyword, positions 1 through 3 in the SERPs. Can I create a separate page for that specific keyword, do a 301 to redirect it to a separate page for the main keyword, and copy most of the existing page's content? Will Google see the second page as duplicate? What are your options? So let me see if I can understand the actual scenario here. So one page is ranking for 6 variations of supporting keywords. One page is ranking for 6 variations of supporting keywords. So I take it the main keyword that you're trying to rank is not ranking where you want it to rank. Is that an assumption? Okay. So can you create a separate page for the specific keyword? You know what? I'm not sure that I'm following you. Like, can you maybe rephrase it? I'm losing track of like the specific keyword. I'm not like, it sounds like you want to create more content and then 301 redirect. I'm not sure. Well, you know, I guess if the main keyword that you're looking to rank is not ranking, you need to do a couple things. One, I would take a look at the competition, and let me know if you've done this already, by the way. So I would look at the competition and look at their I'd look at their length, the length of their content. I would look at their keyword density for the keyword that you're trying to rank for. And then I would look, well, let's just leave it at that for on page. And then I would go and analyze basically the subheadings, like the 2, 3, 4, whatever tags on the pages that are ranking and see what the baseline is for those. Then from there, I would take a look at the backlinks, right? See what's going on there. Maybe you don't have enough links. Maybe you need more. So Huge says, page doesn't rank for the main keyword, only supporting keywords. Huh. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. Really don't know. I mean, I would say most of the time, so you say the page ranks for the product brand name. I mean, most of the time, either you need more content or you need more links. If you're doing, we'll make some assumptions. You have good content length, right? Is it longer than the other people's content? And then if you look at the keyword density, if it's in line with the others, that's good. And then take a look at the backlinks. Do they have more? Do they have less? How old's your page too? How old's your site? Maybe it's not old enough. Okay. I mean, so do the stuff that I said. Huge says it's 6,000 words, but if everybody else has 10,000 words, then you're in the wrong ballpark. So, do the analysis that I mentioned, go look at the other sites and figure out, like, maybe you're off. Maybe you need to use the keyword more or something like that. Okay. Then Huge is persistent. He says, he or she, I'm not sure, says, the average is 5,000 or 6,000. The page is 8 months old. There's 6,000 words. It's, there's 6,000 words. Okay, so add 2,000 more words. And did you check the subheadings? And like I said, Huge, go do the analysis I said, and then come back and let me know. It's really hard, right? I hope you can appreciate this. It's really hard to answer a specific question without having like the actual data in the site in front of me. Even then, right? Even an expert, which I hope people consider me an expert, but like even an expert would probably say, well, there's like 8 or 12 things that it could be, and it's probably a combination of all 8. So you mentioned you were thinking to split that page into 2. Well, and the other thing is, how many searches per month is that main keyword? Last bit of the question, Huge, to allow other people to ask questions a little bit. Yeah, how many local monthly searches? So 8,000. Okay, so here's the deal, Huge. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, by the way. So, and in fact, this is a whole interesting series here. Like, I can do a whole webinar on like this kind of analysis, by the way. Eugene, cool. All right, so Eugene, got it. If you're targeting a term that it gets like 8,000 searches per month, it's going to take you like a year to 18 months to 24 months to rank like in the top 5. So keep doing what you're doing. And actually, I'll tell you to do this, right? How many links do you have going to that page right now? That'll give me a second to maybe pop open my second beer. Yeah, so basically the more searches that there are for a term, the longer it's going to take to rank. So that is one of the magic things for the keyword golden ratio, right? So the keyword golden ratio is really built around searches that are 250 or less, because you can rank those terms a little faster. And if you're going after something that's 8,000 8,000 searches, it's just going to take a little while, you know? And when you think of the money, right? So here's the other thing. When you think of the money that someone's making on a term that gets that many searches, I hope they're reinvesting in their site and they're doing stuff to make it even hard. I mean, that's what I'm doing, right? I'm trying to make it really hard for someone to compete with me on terms, right? Or on my site. I want them to look at my site and think, I can't do that. Like, it's too much. Okay. And Huge says, you only have 8 to 10 links. Okay. So I'll tell you a secret here. If you don't worry about splitting it up into 2 pieces of content, that'll be a total waste of time. All right. Just leave it the way it is. If you focus for the next 6 months to just get backlinks to that page, you'll move up in the rankings. Your whole site will probably move up in the rankings, and you're probably going to be making like a whole lot of money, and you'll think, I can't believe one page is bringing in that much money. But if you just focus on that one page, like don't do any links to any other page on your site, just to that one page. Well, I want to hear the story when you finish doing it. Thing is, most people won't focus for like 2 weeks. So if you could do it for like 6 months and like get a lot of links to that page, you will definitely move ahead. 8 to 10 is nothing. 8 to 10 links is it's good work, right? It's good work. It's a solid start. But if you're talking 8,000 searches per month, like these guys have PBNs pointing to that site, and you're going to have to like do your homework and like really like try to do it. So, okay. So Huge also says, by the way, you tried one page with a KGR on a brand new site, and that KGR is already on position 25 after 2 weeks. That's amazing. Huge. Will you send me a screenshot in email? You could blur out the keywords or whatever in the URL, or I could do that. But that's really awesome. I'm glad you tried it. I mean, that's the number one thing, is to like try something. And you see it works. It's bananas, right? And the thing is, another guy emailed me who's in the 5-Figure Niche Site course. He did the same thing, right? So he published something, brand new site. He was like, oh, it showed up. It showed up at like 65. It was like the first thing that he's published. And he's had a site for a while, right? I think he bought another course and it wasn't as good or something. So he did this KGR stuff, worked through a couple things, showed up in whatever, in the 60s. He was thrilled. It was the first time anything had showed up like in the SERPs for him that he was trying to rank for. And then I think he said within like 2 days, it moved up into the 20s, which is awesome, right? Like it totally works. So, okay. Huge also mentions traffic dropped 50% since March. That sucks. Sorry to hear that. And then, and only 2 pages are indexed on the new site. Okay. And then Bobby said yours is at 21. So another KGR piece of content after 6 days. And it sounds like I should stop telling people about it because, you know, we're going to run out of keywords. I mean, I need them too. I need the keywords also. So, all right. What other questions do we have here? Oh, and it looks like we grew. We have 13 people on. Bobby, Huge, Jeannie, Mike, Pumped. Oh, Jeannie, what's up? And then Vincat, Leo, Ken, Dami, Kevin, James, Jacob, Very. Anyone have questions? Any other questions? Any of the folks here? Yeah, I need to pull all the KGR content out there. Okay, and then Pump says, my highest ranking term is a 49,500 per month term. You're sitting at 13, and it has 593 links pointing to it. How do I boost to that one page? You only have 5,000 words and no interlinking. Okay, so the question is, would interlinking help and boost this or move it down? Well, it should help, and there's only one way to find out. Pumped, is this on the site of yours that has so much content? And if so, I'll generalize this strategy, right? So I would go, here's what I would do. Okay, so first, Pump, we got to set up a meeting sometime soon. We gotta get some stuff going on. You're ranking 13th. That's pretty crazy. So, and that's like a big enough term where I think if you get on the first page, like you'll actually get some traffic. Hopefully you'll rank for some long tails. So a couple things I would do. One, we're going to go to SEMrush. We're going to see what else you're ranking for on that page that's like longer tail and sort of tweak the content, because maybe we could find some terms that are not so competitive, that are not 49,000, but maybe they're only like, 500 searches per month. And all we need to do is add a subheading section and then a couple paragraphs of content on that. So maybe we find like 5 to 10 of those type keywords, right? So we find 5 to 10 of those. We can add, maybe a couple thousand words of content and just sort of beef it out. You're going to be targeting some other terms via those H2, H3 subheading areas. So that's one, some on-page content stuff. And then two, the real answer to your question is around the interlinking. So next part is we're going to go to your site. We're going to find maybe, about 10 or 20, right? 10 or 20 high ranking pages on your site. It doesn't matter if they get a lot of searches or if they get a lot of visits even, but stuff on your site that's ranking in the top 10. And then we'll go to those pages or posts, and then we'll do the interlinking that we talked about in this session, where basically you'll interlink to that page using keyword-rich partial matches that are sort of long phrases, right? We don't want to go crazy. We don't want to over-optimize using the anchor text, but keyword-rich, maybe use some synonyms, right? The LSI type terms, so that basically you're sending a lot of link juice from authoritative pages on your site to that page. And I would expect, now the problem is, it is a term that has so many searches that you may only move up like a couple, like 1 or 2 positions, right? It's hard to say. It's really hard to say. You shouldn't drop down, right? Having internal links shouldn't hurt the page and it shouldn't hurt the rankings. So we do those things. I hope you took notes on what I just said, or you can watch the replay later. So, okay, so Pumped, you say name the time. Okay, I'll send you, yeah, I'll send you the link. I'll send you the link to book time, and we could definitely meet up. Yeah, you're on vacation, that's right. Okay, so Lachey says, to add to the question I asked the other day about 10 articles. So once we have 10 articles and 2 pillar posts, how long do we keep building the links until we start our next set of 10 articles? Or do we keep building all until 10 articles rank and then start the next set? Okay, to add some context around this, Lachey is trying to reverse engineer what's in the 5-figure niche site course, but that's cool, I'll tell you. So publish 10 articles when you're launching your site, okay? Then what you do is you build links to 1 article, and you keep building links until it ranks in the top 5 or so. If you're really determined, till it ranks number 1. But I would probably build 15 links to that 1 page, then start your next sprint. So basically, a lot of people will, they stop too early, right? So a couple things happens. You start a site and you're like, oh, you know what? I want to rank like, well, okay, we'll back up. So what most people do, right? They start a site and they heard some people say, hey, you need to publish like 40 posts or like 60 or like 100, because that's what worked for them, right? So they're following advice for someone who maybe they had a big budget, maybe they're a writer, maybe they just can really put their head down and work hard. But most of us, right, like me, I get distracted, it's kind of hard. I need to see some like results a little faster, right? So the thing is, the course is all about like launching quick, getting results fast, and then like building on that. So the thing is, if you publish 10 articles, then you could like take some action, right? So you take some action and you can build links. So most people, if once they start building links, they'll build links to like 5 different articles because they're like, I want to rank 5, I want to rank these 5 terms. And if I could just rank those 5 terms in the top 5, it would be great. Turns out it's much better if you just rank one term, number 1, and then move on to the next thing, right? If you have one term that ranks number 1, you'll get way more traffic than you suspect that you will get. It is always shocking and it always surprises me. So if you can move to number 1, it's way more traffic than you think it's going to be. And you really only need like one term with a few hundred searches per month, a moderately priced product, $50 to $100, say, and you'll have, a site that's making $1,000 a month. So depends on the product and what category it's in Amazon, but basically build a lot more links than you think. Everyone needs more links than they think they do. And it takes a while for everything to kick in also. So Lachey says you're gonna join when it opens up. Thank you. I'm looking forward to having you in. Leo, appreciate the kind words. Right. Any other questions coming in? By the way, is the audio like, does it sound like I'm screaming? Is it like the right volume? It's hard to tell like the levels here. They don't have, there's no like green bar to tell me if I'm peaking or clipping or anything. So Jeannie asks, when you say get it to number 1, am I saying getting it to page 1 or number 1 in the SERP? So that's a good clarification. The thing is, you should probably get it to page 1 and then move on. But I say to go back and visit it in a month or basically like 1 to 3 months. The thing is, it takes some time for links to kick in. And if you're following like exactly what's in the course, then you essentially need to, you get some guest posts, but then as you build more guest posts, then you link to your other guest posts. So, the fact is, no one's going to link to your guest post except for you, right? But when you go and you do more guest posts, you actually have control of that. And most of the time, people are happy to let you link to other sites. And they're like, oh, they're not trying to just link to themselves. And then if they see that you're linking to your other guest posts, they're probably going to like kind of respect what you're doing because you know what the hell's going on. So yeah, so basically try to get to page 1, but come back and revisit it, because sometimes, especially if the search term is kind of competitive, right? So if it's a search term that gets, say, more than 1,000 searches per month, like it may need more links depending on how authoritative your links were in the first place. So And then the other thing is, as I mentioned, a lot of people want to move on too soon. They want to add more content, or they want to link build to another article. And I mean, the fact is it gets boring after a while, right? If you're just doing the same stuff to link build to the same article. But if you can outlast your competitor, then you'll probably be able to beat them. Okay. Lachey says, I sound great. Thank you. Appreciate it. And James says it's really good too. Yeah, this microphone's all right. It's not bad. Dami says, am I doing anything different to prepare for Black Friday? No, not really. I do have an email list for my sites, and I will probably set up some pages and maybe a few emails to, promote stuff around that time. I typically haven't done a ton of that. For my niche sites, I basically lean on organic traffic and just like the Amazon mechanism to take care of everything. But, I have like an email list of like 10,000 people. Like, it'd be stupid if I didn't make a post like the best deals this holiday season for, whatever my topic is. So, but other than that, not really. A couple of my friends have mentioned, so I haven't done this, but I have heard people talk about setting up pages for Black Friday deals like right now, and to try to get those to rank now, knowing that for 2 or 3 days, people are going to be searching for Black Friday deals when they're sitting around after a big dinner, and they're searching for Black Friday deals for some sort of and I'm not a TV person. I don't know what fancy TVs are out there, but yeah, if you set up some pages, it could pay off. But for me, I just didn't pay attention to it, to be honest with you. But I think earlier in this presentation, I revealed that I'm a little sloppy about certain things. So that is probably one of them. So James asks a very loaded question. I'll read it out. I'll read it fully, James. I have a general question. Forgive me if someone has asked this tonight. You had to leave to help your wife. No problem, James. No one asked this. How long does it take to make money with a site if you do everything right? Okay, so it depends on how much time that you can put into it. So if you can, and actually, I was going to say, Leo, if you're listening and you're able to type a little bit of an answer, I think you may have like one of the a more pure answer than mine as a student and stuff. So from my perspective, if you're able to like put in about maybe like, I would say I'm going to give a wide range, 7 to 20 hours per week. Assuming you're doing a lot of the writing and a lot of the work, then you should be able to make some money within like 6 weeks, I would say. And after that, it's usually about 5 to 7 months before you can make $100 in a month. So I've interviewed about 8 like successful niche site like entrepreneurs, most of which are doing this full time. And that's kind of their period too, right? So if they do everything right, they launch a site, it takes about 6 months to make about $100. Then after that, the interesting thing is if you have things set up and let's say you were adding content that whole time, you're going to escalate quick and you're going to hit, $1,000 a little bit faster, and you're going to hit $2,000 even faster, assuming you have a good niche and you've done other things correctly. So Leo said, you made money the first month after a 5-figure niche site ended. So a little bit longer than what I said, but I've fully like Leo kicks ass. So like I trust what he says. So it sounds like it's roughly like an 8-week course. I'm not 100% sure. I can't remember what package you got, Leo, but so roughly an 8-week course. So 8 weeks plus another month after that. And I know Leo like worked hard on everything. So, maybe my estimate's a little bit off, but I support what you said. So let's say if you do everything right, it could take up to about 3 months. Leo, would you say that's like a fair assessment? Cool. And that's a good question, James. And, by no means is any portion of this like easy. Okay. So there's no portion that's like easy, but there's nothing that's really hard. It's about, this could be a little bit off, but you spend a lot of time brainstorming and then you, so I saw the next message coming in, so I laughed for a second. So basically, I think that I lost my train of thought 100%. So I'm just going to read the chat here. So Leo mentions, to be fair, you chose to delay putting the Amazon affiliate in a little later than I recommended, but you agree with what I'm saying. Cool. And also, the other thing is, you don't if you put the Amazon affiliate links in early, right? You usually don't get a huge benefit out. And Leo, you and I have talked about this, so I know where you were coming from. Basically, I don't put the Amazon affiliate links in right away either, because if I'm only getting 10 visitors a day for a few months, it doesn't really matter to me too much. However, when it was my first site, I put links in right away, and it was super cool when I could show my wife, hey, I made 38 cents because someone bought a Post-it pad or whatever. And it proved the concept. But Leo, I know you already knew the stuff would work. So cool. I like it. So roughly 6 weeks, if you're putting time in and you follow a given plan, right? My plan is not the only way. It's what works for me. And I have, hopefully taken some of my systems knowledge and my project management knowledge and cut away a lot of the unnecessary stuff. So it's here's the minimum thing that you need to do. And then it goes from there. And then James says, there's an SEO specialist that I won't name that keeps telling everyone that you don't have to have a ton of content. It's more important to have authoritative content. Do I agree? Okay. I think, I'll tell you I feel like I need to take a stand, but I was going to say either you need to have a lot of content or you need to have authoritative content, or you could have a blend. You have to pick one though. For me, I picked the blend, right? So I have maybe 2 to 5 or 6 posts that are authoritative. They're very competitive. It's high volume keywords. Then I also have about 250 other posts that are low competition. They are low volume, and they make up about 60% of my income right now. The cool thing is when you spread it out like that and you have a blend, well, if I lose one of the #1 rankings on the, really competitive stuff, it's only about 5 to 7% of my revenue and traffic. So think about that for a second. If you had, say, 20 posts, and you rank #1 for 18 of them, if you lose one, well, that was actually, I did really bad math there. I shouldn't have said it that way. If you rank #1 for 3 of the 20, all right, and you lose one of those #1 rankings, your traffic's going to drop by a lot. But if my traffic drops by about 3%, when I drop from like number 1 for number 2 for one of like 5 keywords that I rank number 1 for, well, it doesn't bother me as much because I have like 247 other articles that are doing well. So does that make sense? And James, I'll tell you, do I agree with that SEO specialist? Yeah, I think what he or she is saying is probably accurate, but there are many ways to do things. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways to do it, and my way is not, it's not necessarily the best way or the easiest way. It's just like the way that I'm doing it. Okay, a few more questions. Lachey asks, we would link our KGR content to our pillars. We are building links to, right? Yeah. On your own site, interlink like crazy. Go nuts with it. Totally cool. So James asks, how many sites do I have? Let's see. Right now, I just have 3. So I have 3. 2 of them I'm like actively working on right now. And James, it sounds like, are you new around here, James? Are you new to Niche Site Project and myself? So I just sold a site with a partner of mine, one of my mastermind partners, and we have a business gig. So James is new around here. Welcome, James. Thanks for joining up and spending so much time here. We just sold a site, and I'll reveal something, since people have actually spent like an hour and 20 minutes or so here. I'll tell you something. So, and even on the replay, people are on the replay. You also spend a lot of time, so I respect that. We were planning on selling this site. Big project, Project Go White Hat. Look it up if you haven't read about it. But basically, we were planning on selling this site for $500,000. Crazy. Site's only a couple years old, or I guess almost 2.5 right now today. But at the time that we were listing it, about 2-ish years old, and we were hoping to sell it for like $500,000, which is crazy because Rob and I just spent a little time on it, but not as much as one would think for that amount of money. But a few things happened. One, the traffic has tapered a little bit, so that was kind of something that could have happened through the process of what we're doing. I'm not going to go too deep, but through the process of what we were doing, traffic went down a little bit. The Google trends, right? So if you look at the overall trend over the last 10 years, like we hit the peak and now it's coming down a little bit. So it's kind of interesting that I hopped on just at that time. And then the other part is Amazon changed their commission structure. So our revenue dropped by like 35%. So right off the bat, like our selling price was 35% lower. But like I said, because everyone's stuck around so long, we sold it for over 200K. I won't tell you the exact amount, but it was over 200K, which is really good. Even though it's much less than what we sought out for at the beginning, it's totally a respectable amount. And, when I first started online, honestly, I was a little embarrassed to tell, some of my friends who are also in like management consulting, making a lot of money, I guess people that work in management consulting for like over 10 years, they make a lot of money. So I was a little embarrassed to like say, hey, I'm working on websites. They think it's a joke and stuff, but I am super happy to be able to, share the story, when we're around having beers or whatever, like that's a legit amount of money. Staggering, in fact. Okay, so Dami says, how much was the site making per month? Well, it varied. So the highest month was was like 32,000 last December, but in recent months it was more like, 7, 8, 9,000. So, I mean, we actually just killed it over the holiday season, and revenue jumped from like about 10K per month to it went up by like 40, and then another 30, and then it went up to 32, and it was like well beyond what we thought it could make, like at all. So, but on average, even after the 35% drop, on average over the last 12 months, it was making like 8,000 something. Okay, any other questions out there? Any other questions? Gonna wrap it up. Really appreciate everyone hopping on. I know in some places it's very late or perhaps early, and we had some new folks like James and some old friends like Leo and Lachey and Pumped and Jeannie, Bobby, Huge, Alex. Oh, I didn't see Alex on. Vincat and Long. So yeah, thanks everyone for joining up. Any other questions before we get out of here? Leo, thanks. You have a good evening too. Oh, the beer that I'm drinking. So the first one that I had is from a local place. It's the Bozeman Brewing Company, so Bozone, and great people there. I like taught a beer judging class. Oh yeah, people don't know I'm a beer judge too. So I taught a beer judging class there at Bozone. Very gracious, cool owners, good friends with some of the brewers too. So yeah, if you're in Bozeman, go there and let me know if you're here because it's kind of a small town. Then let's see. Oh yeah, and then the beer that I'm drinking right now, local. It's Lewis and Clark. It's kind of bright there. Lewis and Clark, and this is the Miners Gold Hefeweizen. It's pretty good. I think we went down to Yellowstone last week, so I brought some cans so we could sit and watch Old Faithful go off. It's better to have cans around instead of bottles, a little dangerous. Okay, I saw a couple questions coming in. Do I think the Amazon update should change what niche you pick? Jeannie, yes, I think so. And, excuse me, I think it's fizzy beer, so, excuse me. So I think I would aim for anything over 4%, right? So what Jeannie's referring to is Amazon changed the commission structure, and that means like games or kids' toys or whatever, I think it only pays out like 3%. So a good friend of mine, she has a site, it's like a parenting blog more or less, but her revenue dropped by like 48% because most of the stuff, unfortunately, was like toys and board games and stuff like that. And that's really, it really like impacted her business a lot. So it's unfortunate. I mean, she has some other, things that she's working on, but that sucks. I mean, huge hit, basically 50% drop in her revenue. So I would say, pick anything over 4% and you should be like in an area where you can operate and make it worthwhile. The upside is you will have less competition because some people are going to be drawn to the home niche, right? There's some items out there in the home niche that pays out like 8%, I think, if I remember right. But you'll have a little bit more, I guess, competition if you're aiming for something that's more, a higher payout. Okay, Jeannie, really good question. That's probably something I should add into the course. That's a new change, so I need to add that in there. Pump says Ahrefs and SEMrush are so different. SEMrush says you're in position 20, and Ahrefs says position 13 up to 6. Which one should you go by? So I don't use either one of those for tracking the SERPs. I use, I think it's serpbook.co.uk. But Pumped, it's fairly inexpensive. I think I pay like $8 a month for like, I don't know, 1,200 keywords or 600, more than I need, right? So you could pay just a few bucks a month and like just have a report. I find it to be highly accurate. SERPs change, like it like varies from time to time, but I find it to be highly accurate. And I think they even have a free plan. So if you wanted to check it out, that's worthwhile. But yeah, SEMrush is actually not like, they do a really good job for like competition analysis, and understanding what keywords a site ranks for. But I think all of their other suite of tools don't do as good of a job, right? So their backlinks, they don't really have as many backlinks as listed as what you really have. Ahrefs is superior in that way. And then Ahrefs, like they have a great backlink crawler, but they can't provide the same info as effectively as SEMrush. So you says, thanks. Thank you for joining. I'm glad you like the webinars. Tell your friends. Venkat says thanks. And then Bobby says, what about other affiliate programs instead for some of the posts? That's totally cool. However, okay, two things. One of the new, I'm adding like a couple new things. And Bobby, because you're a member of the course, I think it's the Bobby that is a member of the course. So I'm adding two new things. One of them about is the email list building for niche sites. So I'm going to be adding that in a couple months, right? You'll have access to it. The other thing is what I'm calling Beyond Amazon. And it's for like other, affiliate programs, like what you talked about. So there's some dangers with that. Not really dangers, but things to consider. And what I do have is a couple people that have been very successful in using other affiliate programs, ClickBank, ShareSale. There's lots of other affiliate programs. A lot of people like go to those too soon, but Bobby, you may have the ability to add some other stuff in there. I know your site, so potentially there's some other programs out there that could be pretty good. Thing is, Amazon converts so well, and for my niches, I just stuck with Amazon, even though my revenue dropped. Turns out Amazon just converts so much better. People buy a lot of stuff on Amazon. So, James, you have one more question. What do you got? And Lachey, it's serplab.co.uk. So yeah, check out the free version. I think you could track a couple keywords at least, like a couple hundred maybe. All right. That is a good question, James. So here's the deal. The question is, there are several sites that are selling ready-made sites. Do I have any thoughts? I do. So I have this cool post because a lot of those people that sell sites, they're my friends, and I disagree with them, right? Well, I mean, I'm selling a course too, right? So the whole post has just a bias. Everyone that wrote something in has some kind of bias. Either, and I did that intentionally, by the way, so either they're selling a course or they're selling sites. I thought it would be interesting because I was going to write a post about how I don't like ready-made sites, and I'll tell you why. And if anyone in the audience has the ability to paste the link for James to that post, that would be awesome while I'm talking here. Basically, if you buy a ready-made site, the problem is this. You get the site and then you don't know what to do with it. You're not sure how to find the keywords. You're not sure about the content. The people that sold it to you, again, my friends, right? So they're my friends. So I'll try and say it diplomatically, but they tell you that the site has the potential to make $500 a month or $10,000 a month or whatever, but you personally don't have the tools and the knowledge like base to grow the site, to get traffic, to really make it happen. So the problem is, like, you spend the money and you try and follow the instructions that they give you. Most of them give you, decent instructions on how to, grow the site and stuff like that. However, most of the time they are, either referring you to service providers that add content, add links, and so on, or they actually provide the services themselves. So they have sort of a vertically integrated system where they sell a site and then they try and sell you services afterwards. It's extremely lucrative. I know that it is very, very profitable to do that, but you still don't have the knowledge base. And if we go back to the quote that I mentioned before, like, you can't take the methods, right? You have to understand the principles of like what you're doing and why you're doing them. And then you can translate them into other stuff. It's really powerful, right? But if you just try and take like step-by-step methods and you don't get the principles, then you kind of missed out on the whole thing. And here's the other thing, right? When we just break it down, all right, when we just break it down, if those guys and gals could build a site, like a ready-made site, and then outsource the link building, add more content, and start making, say, $500 a month, and then turn around and sell the site for 20 to 30 times that monthly multiple, why are they selling it for like $500 or $1,000 or $1,500? That doesn't make sense to me. If you could just build a site, put 10 pieces of content on there with some keywords that they may or may not be selling over and over again, right? Who knows? I mean, you can go to my site and get like 15,000 keywords that are profitable. I mean, they could just be using those. Like, keywords are a commodity, they're throwaway. It's all this stuff after that. So, okay, I talked a bunch. Dami, thank you for pasting the link. I really appreciate that. James says you agree. You don't want to be sold on potential. Yeah, it's about learning, right? It's kind of fun to do the stuff. Everyone's short on time and we want to outsource stuff, but I really believe, and I outsource a lot of stuff. Like, if you don't know how to do the task, it's really hard to outsource it without feeling like you're maybe getting taken advantage of. Like, you never know because you don't know the effort involved. I mean, people come to me and they're asking for SEO help and they're like, this company said that they were going to do this and that, but I really don't understand. And I don't do that kind of consulting because it's a little boring to me. So, okay. Let's see. Thank you, James, for the question. Again, thanks a lot for joining. Appreciate you sticking around for this long. So, let's see. Usually we don't talk this long. All right. Venkat says, in any more questions, like, type them in now. I'm probably going to end it quick here. We're going to end it fast. So Venkat says, I'm new to the webinar. Welcome. I appreciate it. Do I know any PBN link sellers or anyone that I suggest for done for you PBNs, and which ones that I suggest? Okay. So if generally these are no pitch, right? I'm not trying to sell you anything here, but since Venkat asks, a friend of mine named John Haver, who he actually is like a partner in one of the done-for-you niche site services. It's called brandbuilders.io. John Haver, good guy. I've known him for years. He and I have talked on the phone and stuff like that. Super good guy. So yeah, Lachey says John's awesome. That's really Oh yeah, and Lachey says Matt Diggity as well. So okay, so two people. So one for done for you services, that's John Haver, and I actually have an affiliate link for that one. So if you go and buy through my affiliate link, that'd be cool. It's Lightning Rank, and if you go to my Niche Site Project site, you can go to the PBN post. You should be able to find it. And then, there's some information about John's service. There's actually a couple others on there too. And then Lachey says Matt Diggity. Matt Diggity is awesome. Funny thing, I talked to him the other day, just a couple days ago, about some other thing unrelated to PBNs. But I've known him for a couple years too. Really good guy. I haven't met him in person. He's located in Chiang Mai, but totally legit. Respect what he's doing. I don't do gray hat stuff, but Matt Diggity, he's kind of my go-to person for PBN knowledge. And then one other person I'll mention. I don't even know if he has a service, but Charles Float. I think he may have some link building services, but Charles Float, pretty good guy too. I don't know him as well, but I've known him for a couple years, and he really knows his gray hat stuff. So those are the couple people I would mention, Venkat. Any other questions? Oh, and then Pump said, you purchased many sites, and Shauna Newman at Skip Blast is great. You know what? I didn't even know Shauna was selling sites, but she and I were in a mastermind for a really short period. But Shauna is awesome, super smart girl, and yeah, totally respect her. If she's selling sites, I would trust her for sure. So thanks, Pump, for mentioning that. Yeah, Shauna's super cool. I didn't know she was selling sites. Ranked almost immediately. Yeah, that's really awesome. I should buy some sites from Shauna then. All right, any other questions? We're pushing 2 hours. Crazy. It must be super late where Dami's at. All right, so we are going to end it up here. And if you have any suggestions for future webinars, shoot me an email. You should be able to find it somewhere. If you got the emails to actually attend this, you have my email address. James says Shauna who? So it's Shauna Newman, it's Skip Blast. James, just send me an email. I can hook you up with her. I think she's on vacation right now a little bit, but she may be around. Cool. All right. Well, we'll see you next time. Probably going to be doing, webinars. I'm not webinars over the next quarter or so. May take a week off here or there, but I may, move the time. I do evenings sometimes. I'm kind of testing the times. But the other thing I'll mention for everyone that hung around, so we got YouTube live streaming. So I'm typically doing those at 11 a.m. Mountain Time. So 8 hours before we started this. Is that right? Something like that. So hours before we started this, but they are on YouTube. So if you have the ability and you have a second, it helps me if you like and or comment on videos and watch them and stuff like that. Just good interaction. No pressure or anything, but if you have a second, super helpful if you do that, and I would appreciate it. So, all right, I'm going to let everyone go, and then I'll have another beer. So thanks, everyone.